A major criminal case involving 2 deaths and 3 injuries occurred in Puxian, Fujian, China. This case occurred on the afternoon 10th October 2021, resulting in the death of 2 people from the same family and 3 injuries including a 10-year-old child. However, the whereabouts of the suspect Jinzhong Ou is still unknown. This is my translation from News in Chinese of the 16th of October 2021 by Radio France International.
8 helicopters, 20,000 men hunting down 1 person. A murder suspect that receives sympathy from most Chinese internet users.
This person, Mr. O, has been grabbing eyes of the Chinese internet for the past week. What is astonishing is that the vast majority of them feel sympathy about this suspect. Let's see one example. This is just a post, not a poem. Winds start to blow and it starts to rain. That poor good man from Puxian. Keep warm. When you see him, provide something to eat to him. When you meet him, provide something to drink. When you discover him, be blind. How many people feel sympathy for Mr. O? RFA conducts a survey. Option 1, he has been forced to, worthy of sympathy. 88.6% votes. Option 2, eye for eye, he should be brought to justice. 11.4% votes. Even if these 2 options are not mutually exclusive, which means that both can seem to be true a person, people still choose the first one regardlessly. This survey addresses the Chinese Twitter users who can go around the Great Firewall, while another one has been carried out within on Weibo, and a similar proportion is reported. Some people even feel empathy. There are comments like this: "If I were him, I would do the same." What is more dramatic is this wanted notice. It says 20,000 RMB, which is around $3,000, will be awarded to those who provide important clues for cracking the case, while 50,000 RMB, $7,500, to whoever finds his body. This is not even a warrant of arrest, but simply a notice issued by the government of the town. By the Chinese laws, only the police department of a county level can issue a warrant of arrest. In other words, this notice is invalid. Wait, does it encourage killing him? He is not even convicted. Or do they want to silence him? When the people asked this question, this was pulled off. What drove him to kill? Why does most Chinese internet community feel sympathy for him? According to China News Weekly and other media reports, after Mr. O applied to the local government for permission to tear down a dilapidated building and to rebuild in 2017, he demolished the original 400 square meter house and wanted to build a new house on the original land. However, while all the necessary paperwork was done, his neighbor, a victim in this homicide, together with nearby residents, repeatedly obstructed the construction of a new house by Mr. O, leaving his family nowhere to go but to live in a makeshift canopy for 5 years with his 89-year-old mother. Before the incident, because of the typhoon, fragments of the canopy of Mr. O were blown to the neighbor's house. The neighbor's family verbally attacked him. This might have triggered this tragedy. After the incident, his previous complaint messages are being spread on the internet, showing that he is an honest farmer who had written appeal letters to many departments, hoping that they could come forward to help resolve the land disputes, but had never received an effective response. If you compare the shelters of the suspect and the victim, you will start to understand the sympathy he gets: a shabby canopy versus a multi-story house. It is clear that he had tried every means available to him. He had complained to the local sheriff, but they had done nothing. He had appealed to local media SCTV and they had not helped him. He had posted his case online in order to attract public attention, but this had not made much difference. He had also tried the mayor's hotline, the Chinese police ministry, etc. A list of help phones is recovered on this piece of cigarette wrapping. According to a villager, the victim was bully in the village, who had good connections, and he meant to take the land of the suspect by permanently obstructing the construction on it. A good connection means power in China. I can't verify this, but I can't verify otherwise. In communist China, it is hard to confirm something. And this statement seems to make sense. As the name of the suspect gets viral, more and more is recovered. A video is found in which an old person in the victim family was cursing the suspect some time back. It lends some support to the statement by this villager. On the other hand, Mr. O was a man of good characters. Years back he was reported saving dolphins on the beach with others. Decades back, he saved a drowning boy from ferocious waves, risking his own life. Today, the boy came forth, testifying. CCTV.com, a major Chinese national media, calls for bringing the suspect to justice. Yes, he should be brought to justice and given at least a fair trial. But these people are just steering the public attention away from the right question, as usual. It is not that the Chinese people encourage violence. The people, I trust, while mourning the dead, have questions to ask. One of them is what made a good man commit a double homicide, hurting 3 other people including a child, assuming that he really did all of this. This is a tragedy. This tragedy reminds the Chinese internet community of the tragedy of Jia Yang, who had no way to find justice and eventually killed 6 policemen, and Mr. Yang was sentenced to death without saying, but was seen by many as a hero standing up against tyranny, or even a martyr. He is at least memorized together with his final words, "If you don't give me an explanation today, I will give an explanation to you." Some comments on the internet may help us understand the sympathy here better. A few posts suggest very similar situations in rural areas to what happened to Mr. O's dilemma. Actually, injustice is quite universal in villages and also in cities. Injustice is commonly found with grassroots, and thus these people see or could see themselves in him. This widespread injustice occurs before the institutional absence of rule of law. This is not surprising given the current institutional corruption in this land. In the past, the crime rate in Chinese society was very low. The reason behind is that in the imperial ages and in the First Republic, the royal or central power didn't meddle with the village autonomy, so that the social order in rural areas was maintained by country gentlemen and important families with common ethics and their virtues. In 1950s, early years of communist reign, this fundamental social structure was eradicated when the communists carried out land revolution. Will the communist regime in China evolve into the rule of law? Don't be naive.
Mr. O is a good man who has saved the life of a child while risking his own. He got all the legal paperwork for rebuilding his own house, but his neighbor prevented the construction, so he had to live in a poor condition for 5 years taking care of his 89-year-old mother. This neighbor allegedly meant to take his land and was so powerful a man with connections that the law, the media and the police all failed him. Living in your own house is just such a basic right, but he couldn't have it, not to mention taking care of his family well. What would you do if you were in such a desperate situation? Probably if everyone is allowed to own a rifle, The neighbor dares not to obstruct the construction in your own land. This is not to incite violence but rather to deter the bullying so murder like this wouldn't take place. The rule of law is a better idea, but unfortunately the Chinese people can't have it and have to suffer from similar injustice. Thank you for watching this video. We will follow up what happened to Mr. Jinzhong Ou.